Have you ever had any dreams about being in the Hall of Fame in anything that you've committed your life to since you were a little person, whether a boy or a girl? And I just got off watching Billy Wagner appreciate his earning the Hall of Fame in 2025 in baseball. You don't have to be a baseball enthusiast or a sports fan or anything, but you know what it takes to make the Hall of Fame. Think about that. I've always thought about making the Hall of Fame, but there's no Hall of Fame for what I do in my life. Okay? So, but every time I watch the Hall of Fame in any sport, male or female, I love to listen to their acceptance into the Hall of Fame. Why? Because they go back to their childhood, and I'm ready to cry, because I cry at every one of them, because it brings me back. And the players that are being accepted today are usually the kids, or I should say the athletes that were my children's heroes. I had heroes too. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my heroes, because I'm going to accept my own Hall of Fame. Whatever it would be, I want to thank the people that brought me to where I am today. And I'm proud of my past. I'm proud of my mastery of what I've done. You can't really measure it. The only way you can really measure it when they say success is your net worth. Well, I'm fine there. However, I'm even more fulfilled by what others have achieved through, hopefully, my influence on them. I'm very proud. So let's just go back. Of course, I got to start with my parents. My father was an entrepreneur, worked very hard, and we hardly saw him. I'm one of 11 children, okay? And so we didn't get to see my father that much, but we saw our mother all the time. I was raised in the 50s, 1954 actually. And I got 10 brothers and sisters, and we had everyone had their own dreams and aspirations. But what I want to say, I'm going to turn the car off for a second here. What I want to say is my mother was the athlete, first generation Polish. And if you could bear 11 children, you're one hell of an athlete. My mother's in the Hall of Fame, in heaven. Now, my mother was my biggest influence. My older brothers were my heroes, because that's what I saw. And we all more or less played the same sports. Neighborhood stuff, baseball, hockey. I'm from Minnesota. Hockey was a big deal. And we weren't much for football. And I kind of stretched it into soccer. Soccer was kind of an add-on in high school, because I didn't play football. I didn't want to get hurt. And soccer was how to keep it fit to get ready for hockey. So that was our fitness. And by the way, a lot of our soccer, American football, by the way, it was not in the play. When I say soccer, I'm talking about football, okay? European football or world football. So a lot of our soccer team were hockey players, because it was very similar. It's a very similar game, you know? You shoot and you score. But the rules, we were a little bit probably more aggressive. So when we started seeing red, yellow, and green, whatever those tickets are, we didn't really pay attention to what they were. Okay? We just looked at the score. Who won? 3-1, 3-0, 6-0. We had a goaltender, fullbacks, and so on. And so where I'm going with this is, besides my parents, once I started playing sports, organized sports, you had to deal with your coaches. So going back to Hall of Fame, when you listen to these guys like Billy Wagner, he's going through the process. So I'm going through the process because I'm on YouTube, and I'm considering myself a Hall of Fame. No one's going to tell me I'm a Hall of Fame, right? Maybe my kids on a certain day when they love me. My kids are all in their 40s, so they know that I'm kind of crazy. So teammates, coaches, you have to understand that you're talking about 14, 15 to 18, those are the people that influence you. Those are the people that believe in you. Confidence is a big deal between 9th grade and 12th grade. And one thing that I had, even though I might have not had the skill set that other players had, what I did have was I was a good teammate. I was a good teammate because I would do whatever it took to win. Didn't have to bash players. I admired some of these other guys that were better athletes, but they didn't have the right attitude. They didn't have the right mindset. And some of them were all about them. We see them, prima donnas. Well, we know that doesn't work in real life, right? And I'll tell you something. I always looked at myself as a go-getter. However, it was by myself. And then my friends, a lot of my friends weren't athletic. They were smart. I had smart friends, math, science, much better students than me. But I might have had better athletic ability, but I was a B player, not an A player. But I made the team. So after high school, I went to college. And then again, I lost my confidence because no one else went to my college, and I went to a small Division III school. And none of my brothers older than me went to college. So I really didn't have a role model. And my dad was an entrepreneur that went to trade school. He never went to college. Education wasn't pushed in our home. Of the 11 kids, work, employment was the goal. Not education, not a college education or anything like that. The goal was get up in the morning, go to work. Because if you go to work, someday you're going to be lucky. And some of the rules were discipline, focus, stay out of trouble, be a good person, be humble. And one thing I'm going to add to my success was networking. Because I knew sports. So sports taught me leadership. And my father, who I watched for over 10 years being his sidekick, I saw what leadership was in business. Because I saw huge companies like 3M trust him to get business going, to innovate things, to ship things on time, to do things right, to treat the people right. Pensions, treat the people that the people come first, not the family, the kids. Add to respect. Is that a good word? Respect others. And believe me, colors would show after a while. If you were a taker, it would show. You just don't spend as much time on those people. But if you have the instincts, it's kind of like being a scout. If you got the instincts to see that somebody's got potential and has what it takes to be gritty, that's what the Hall of Fame is all about. But notice in the Hall of Fame, just so you know, when these people are picked, it's not just on statistics. It's the type of person you were, how you treated people, because there's karma. There's reasons why some people, even though they have all the statistics, whatever it took, but they were not the nicest person, they weren't a good teammate, they're not going to be selected by the writers and the people that vote. It's really down to your integrity. So when you see these guys accepting the Hall of Fame, they're talking about their parents, they're talking about their wife or their spouse, they're talking about their kids, they're talking about their coaches. They go way back, 8, 9 years old, in that incident like Billy Wagner. I didn't know this. He was right-handed. He broke his hand when he was like 8 or 9 or 10 playing football. So he went to his left and he started throwing left. He went to a Division III small college, got drafted. And the guy's in the Hall of Fame. Major League Baseball at 5'0", he says, 150 pounds in college. And somebody took a shot at him. That's what I'm talking about. My father took a shot on me. He says, Rock, here's your opportunity. And I was challenged more than once. But he would never say, you're Hall of Fame potential. No. It was like going to the Marines. My father treated you like you're a Marine. structure, discipline, focus, modest, humble, give, generous. Give. The people come first. So as I sit here and talk about the Hall of Fame, and as I get emotional about it, it's because I'll never make the Hall of Fame. My Hall of Fame is with my 3 kids and my grandkids, the next generations, or my nephews and my nieces, because they know we're not all built the same. I took the road that not everybody takes. They call it the road less traveled. And that's what you see in the Hall of Fame in baseball and football, hockey, and all that stuff. These guys are respected. They thank their teammates. They were a good teammate. They'll do anything for the team. They're good to the press. They're respected by their coaches, the owners. Do you know what that would feel like as an owner? And, for example, Billy Wagner goes in and he played, 16 years with a bunch of teams, and he acknowledged any one of them. Why? Because they gave him a shot. They gave him a shot, and he was a winner. And that position, by the way, it's called a closer. He was a closer. And that's what I feel like I was. I was a closer. And the people I worked with, not only my employees, my teammates in the executive level, all of them are successful, and most of them left to become entrepreneurs on their own. And I feel like I was part of that, because not only did I teach them how to be a professional, like my father taught me, and my mentors, I go back, I feel the same way about the people I work with. If I could contribute towards their success, I'm all for it. Just like my kids, I'm all for it. My grandkids, I'm all for it. And a lot of it is the role model that you are. There's many times I would say, or judge people, because my expectation was very high. From a very young age, I wanted to win. But I always knew you can't do it alone. So I had the instincts to pick the right people, to put them in the right position, you know what I mean, for success. And then the more successful they are, they say, oh, I could do this. I'm going to move on. So whoever achieves Hall of Fame in their life, I hope they say LaManna was part of my success. And by the way, my Hall of Fame is in my book, and my book is called They Named You Right. It's my memoir. And I compliment all the people that got me to what I call my success, my successes. So now I'm in the car here. I couldn't take it anymore, so I record the Hall of Fame. It's really unbelievable that you could look at these kids, and these men that are now in the Hall of Fame that are, I don't know, not much more than 40s and early 50s, okay? It's just a beautiful thing when you see them. And then I remember, because when I was watching Billy Wagner's speech, what was going through my mind was my son, who was a catcher, by the way. And my son would tell me, Dad, you catch this Billy Wagner out? I'm like, no, who's Billy Wagner? I lived in Minnesota, but I was a Yankee fan, and so those were the two teams I was watching, And he would tell me, Dad, this guy's somebody. Pudge Rodriguez, Dad, this guy's somebody, because he was a catcher. And that's the other thing that I loved about my kids was sports, because we all kind of followed. My oldest son, he's a big tennis guy. So he informs me who the great tennis players are, like Roger Federer and Nadal and these guys, and golfers, because we played all the same sports. But see, they were teammates. So they knew, and we knew that, we may never get to the Hall of Fame with Major League Baseball, especially if you don't make it. But they made it in their other ways as parenting. They're Hall of Fame parenting people. Behind closed doors, you never know what happens. And for somebody, and a spouse especially, if you have a spouse that stuck with you all those years to achieve your passion and your dreams, and then they got kids lined up and everything, it's a beautiful thing. That's their legacy. And my legacy is I'm sharing on YouTube, because I could only write so many books, and not everybody's going to take the same road that I took. My kids aren't taking the same road, and that's okay. I just want them to be happy people. So going back to being a Hall of Fame player, I really, in my heart, believe I was a Hall of Fame teammate. I would educate people. I would encourage people. I would empower people. Because eventually you got to get out there and do it yourself. But nobody's going to remember that except what's his legacy? What was his net worth when he died? I mean, that's not what it's about. It's what you're giving back. Now, my feeling as a businessman, I really believe I was a Hall of Fame person. Because I know how many people believed in me. I could give you a few names. Carlo, Virginia, my grandfather, my uncle, Uncle Frank. Let me see here. Coach Fries, Coach Whitey. I could go on and on. You know, teachers. Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray says, Rock, you got what it takes to go to college. I'm like, no, I don't. He goes, yeah, you got it. You got it. And then my father would say, Rock, you're a diamond in the rough. For him to say that to me, I couldn't believe it. My buddy Jim at Deloitte really pushed me to be financially successful. He taught me all the ropes. Paul, another guy at 3M, Paul was behind me. Kevin was behind me. I know all the people. My employees, Mike, Magdi, Dolly, behind me all those years. Anna, recently, another Mike, Sandy, Greg. Look at. And then I meet all these other people. Ron Castleman, unbelievable. Most of these people were at least 20 years older than me. And most of them are passed on now. And I feel for them. So when I watch the Hall of Fame and their announcements, they're naming off their coaches, their parents, their grandparents, the foundation, who gave them the shot. I could have took the wrong road, just like anybody else. And then when I started saying, oh my God, I got to be responsible. I'm a role model. And when I had those 3 kids, I would tell them, listen, I got the same temptation that you got. Alcohol, drugs, and girls. It's a bad combination. Rock and roll. Love rock and roll. I love music. I love all that. Poor dancer. But listen, you put on a song in the 70s, the 80s, 90s, there's always a moment. And I watch movies, I cry. I rewatch them, I cry. It's okay to cry because it's the emotions. It's the emotions. But Hall of Fame, you only get the title when somebody says, thank you. And in my case, I've had people say to me, Rock, I want to thank you. It's even better when it's Dad, thank you. Grandkids, they'll remember me 20 years from now. And that's why I'm on YouTube. And this is my part of my legacy. Believe me, everybody, I've achieved what I need to achieve. And yes, I'm going to say it like everybody else. Thank you, God, for this life. And to be raised in the family I was raised in. Unbelievable. And I would see how others were raised, especially in grade school and high school. It was abnormal to be in a family of 11. You know what I mean? And I would see their parents, but they always treated me with respect because I was a friend that they wanted me to hang around with because they knew I was a good guy. I was too afraid to do anything wrong. I was raised with the 10 Commandments, and I was afraid of my mother and my father. Besides God, I had great leadership, man. Great leadership, role models. I met a lot of people in business, a lot of people going through my divorce because I became very gregarious. I started to understand that you can't do anything in life alone. And God put me into these situations. And I excelled. I'm kind of a mentor to a few other young people, okay? They contact me online and they want to learn something from me. And one person recently, I really pushed them because I thought, you know what? You're complacent, man. You made your net worth at 33 years old that you want. It's not good enough, man. It's not good enough. No. A talent like you gotta do more. And you're the leader of your family. Get out there and do it. And I talk like that. And it's like the old school of Bobby Knight and Bill Parcells and John Gruden and all these other guys, Lou Holtz, Billy Martin, George Steinbrenner, Al Davis. Those were my idols. The guys that were saying, kick in the ass, excel. But deep down, they knew he had the grit to win and will go through that brick wall. Not everybody's got that. So when I see somebody not doing their homework, you know what I mean by doing their homework? There's a reason why you have to grow. And you got to do it through risks. You got to go through reading. You got to go through experiences, bad experiences, but you learn from that and you never do it again. And if you have kids, as a parent, don't you want your kids to say, my dad was all right? My dad was a good man. I want my kids to be proud of me. So I'm telling you, you want to be in the Hall of Fame? You got to act it. And you got to press forward and do the right thing. You got to be a person of integrity. And someday you might get that call. Not from the Hall of Fame. You get it from your kids and say, thanks, Dad. That's what you want. Okay. I know I touch some people out there, but this younger generation, man, that Gen Z, not the millennials as much, the Gen Z, you are on YouTube. I know that. I got all ages, from Gen Z all the way up to baby boomers. I'll guarantee you, I'll never be the smartest one in the room. There's so many of my clients in my 50 years of my career, they were always the smartest one in the room. And I allowed it, because at the end of the day, colors show. And if you're a taker, it's easy to realize that, wow. And I look at them, I say, your kids talk to you anymore? Estrangement is big. Money is a big deal. Divorce is a big deal. Broken families is a big deal. Alcohol later in life is a big deal. Now you got medical, cannabis. Okay? You're not going to be in a Hall of Fame high. You're not going to do your speech fucked up. You see? So I hope this resonates to everybody that you could be in the Hall of Fame, your own Hall of Fame. No one else has to vote for you. But if you get that call from your kids to say, thanks, Dad, that's the best, man. And if you get another generation where they say, my grandkids say to my kids, thanks, Dad, thanks, Mom, generations of great parenting and being the right role model. Mentorship is huge, man, because there's a lot of people that don't have that. And that's basically my role, is to do all the right things and be a big influence in a positive way to people. So God bless you. You're in my Hall of Fame until, okay? That's my high expectation. And time will tell. Colors show. You could screw up. Like Warren Buffett says, it took me 25 years to get this reputation. It'll take me 5 seconds to lose it. And that is so true. So God bless you. I'll talk to you soon.